Okay, okay, here we go. Sorry. Okay, this is the agenda. We will go through it step by step. Let's start talking about some introduction and the scope and objectives of the guidance. First of all, I'm happy to say that the guidance is something that is included and is essential, a good part or a part of a building smart regulatory domain strategy, and is in our roadmap. I think this strictly linked to two other parts of our roadmap. One is the RIR project that will be presented later on in the next session by Nick and Tommy that are here present, that are already here. And the other stuff is, another thing is that we are strictly linked to one of the, let's say, regulatory domain long-term goal, that is to start talking with the regulators about the way to write regulations that fit the permitting process and the digital permitting. So the project for the guidance has been approved in November 2022. So it has been 1.5 years. I was not alone in doing this activity, but we were in a good group. Some of the people of the group are here, are attending this session. We have 31 members from different nationalities. And we have also an editorial team that is the people that is in the blue list: Eduardo Toledo Santos, Luis Vargas, Eduardo Toledo from Brazil, Luis Vargas from Panama, Miguel Azinha from Portugal, Sergio Munoz, that is the only one that is at the summit, but is of course taken because he's running the summit as a matter of fact. So from Spain, David Fang, thank you for being here. Trece Stoyanov from Macedonia, that is not here at the moment, and Sheila Karailan, of course, that was being our angel for during all the process, and some guest authors, Mirbek Berbakov, hi Mirbek, from buildingSMART Deutschland, and Francesca Noardo from OGC, that is collaborate for the part related to GIS. We also have some ghostwriters, people that wrote something without for the guidance or corrected some text. So thank you to Wawan Solihin from Singapore, from Rick Kloster from Netherlands, and of course Nick Nisbet, that has been supervising more or less everything. Okay, let's talk about the scope of the guidance. First of all, was to have a clear narrative text, because when we are facing regulators, facing that kind of people, we understood that the first approach with people that is not using, is not in the club like we are, so it's not in the building, in the BIM club, they need a text that has to be read in a patient way, and it's better for comprehension, and it's not start talking about acronyms that many times make them go back and not stop in understanding. So what we also try to do is to report from and illustrate what is going on, what is happening from in digital building permitting in what can be achieved through this process, and so highlight how can it help the regulators work, because this is something that we found that is sometimes missing in our presentation, in our activity, is to work not today, because actually we have so many presentations related to being mandate and being permitting, but this is, I continue to say, this is the club. This is the club where people talk about this, and we have to break the barriers and go talk with somebody else. Okay, what is that? Because who we want to reach with our message is public services and regulatory bodies, especially politicians and functionaries. So if the guidance structure is composed by an executive summit and a core document, and the targeting is this one. Executive summary is short, it's about 1 page, should be something that can be readable for a politician. Very, very hard to write. I don't know if we have been able to do this. And why for the functionaries, we have a core document that is talking about the process and the advantages and what we put in scope. Actually, you see that here we are missing the core, the main people that is working on this, that are for typically the public servants that are working operatively in this process. Did we forget them? No, we consider them people that is easy to approach, or easier, not easy, easier to approach to reach the functionaries and politicians that are the real target. So our idea is the channel to reach these two segments that are functionary and politician are the, let's say, being champions that work in or close to the public services. The objectives, of course, we are the goal of this guidance. Okay, let's first say that a guidance is not something that is written only to explain, but also to say something and to reach, to communicate a message to someone. Putting this in a form that is used, looks like a suggestion for doing better what they are doing. So the objectives are addressing the key issues and advocating for a standardized approach to a permitting for building, so support our cause. Recognizing the essential role of open BIM, so explain that BIM and open BIM are two different things, that it is very clear for us, but think about, you make this, take a document and you give it to your wife or to your son and make it, and understand if they are understanding this kind of stuff. And of course, the goal that we already put in our strategy, in the regulatory domain strategy, is to start talking with regulators the way they can change the rules to make digital regulatory easier and reliable. What we excluded from this guidance, of course, we want to keep it short and simple, so we don't put everything inside. So we say something about, but we didn't go in the deep with about public asset maintenance processes, about infrastructure regulatory digitalization. At the moment, we were thinking it was easier to talk about regulatory in buildings, about buildings. We didn't go in details about compliance and or assurance. I see here, Edward, we have some discussion with the law at BIM group about what to say, what not to say. And at the end, it's very hard at this moment in a guidance to go in the deep in different topics that are related to legal assurance, to legal compliance, as for example, intellectual property. So because in different jurisdictions, we have very different approach. So this is something we demanded to the local and national guidance for that could be, that we hope will be written after this, if they are not already available, like in Spain or in Canada. And also we didn't go in the deep in project management detailed recommendation, because of course this is something different and one more time change from jurisdiction to another. So let's talk about what is in the guide. The guide is, first of all, available. Not the guide, but the final draft. This means that it's not generally available. The guidance is at the moment, if you send us a message, a request for at our email address. We can provide you a PDF copy and explaining that it's not officially released because we still not have passed the standard committee for it's not been approved yet. But we can ask you to send it to you for informal review, let's say, or comments that will be very, very, very welcome in case you will do. The contents, here is the list of the index, and but let's say, as I said, our idea is to keep it short and simple as much as we can. But at the end, we have 45 pages. That means that it's not something, if you think to 45 pages document, you don't think it's a document that can be read at a coffee machine, but it's something you need a coach, probably a good glass of wine to read it completely, for watching, talking from a regulator point of view. We included some contents, not so many, but I think that are not so few. We have 75 quotation of different links to documentation that are related to the guidance. Some figures, many of them we took from doc guidance and document that has been written by buildingSMART or other publication that has been produced in this year about on this topic. And we talk about 25 countries examples, or just say that they have done something. I've passed the last 2 days, this couple of days, very scared of having forgotten something, forgotten someone. But at the end, I've been very happy because we also have Catalonia, so we are very happy with everybody. Oh, it looks that we didn't miss anyone. Executive summary. So of course, this is the short piece we would like to talk about. We will present to, let's say, for a politician or stakeholder, the state stakeholders, managers, institutional stakeholder managers or managers. And so the content is more or less what we see in the blue arrows. That is, digitization is the construction industry is lagging behind, we know. Okay, everything is, but the paradox is that the digital tools are widely used in construction data activities. And challenges related to regulatory complexity and need a gradual evolution. That is a way to say, let me say that, okay, it's not as your regulators, you are not guilty for the delay in this process, but you are not completely innocent. And okay, anyway, the building regulatory digitalization is inevitable. So things are going that way. These days in this club is very clear, but outside is not. And for any regulator, we want to say that it can be done with open BIM and collaboration, global collaboration. This is two messages that we want to transfer to the, let's say, high level in the institutions. Of course, we had a part of introduction where we talk about BIM, difference with open BIM, something about GIS. So we have a contribution from OGC, from Francesco Nardo about what to say, not to say. So, but it has been, we have been able to keep it shorter than 10 pages, 5 pages. We talk also about the regulatory bodies. This is something that we decided to talk about during regulatory body structure. Talk about during the edition of the documents. And when we started to say, okay, we think we went to explain what we think that the regulatory bodies are for us. And if you don't agree with us, tell us, so we will understand what we are not doing right for your specific local jurisdiction or national organization. So we took this design from this figure from my Clive Billiard presentation. We took away the name of, we put the regulators in the middle, and we say that these are the transaction of information transactions that are involving regulators with, let's say, the asset owners, the supply chain, the program, the designers, and facility management. Of course, we put that there are two areas that are the main areas that are involving a digital communication between regulators and let's say the industry, that are mainly the permitting and the public asset management. And then we also reported a couple of examples of the models, let's say, of regulators structure from our point of view. That is the point of view of people that is talking about information management. So we say there's a two-tier model that is involving when you have that the institution is talking directly to the industry, while you have a three-tier model when between the industry and the institution there is an agency that is managing the communication. And so why OpenBIM helps for the regulatory process? So actually we took the information you can find in the buildingSMART website, talking about general support that is done by the use of BIM to the industry. And we find that more or less 100% of it was valid also for regulators, for regulatory bodies. We didn't find anything that say, okay, now they are talking about cost and the regulatory bodies are not involved in. No, yes, they are. So everything was transferred. We put also some historical background to confirm that OpenBIM is a stable, a durable and stable standard. It's not an Elon Musk invention of the last 20 minutes. It's something that is coming from a long story. And it's something that is here to stay. It's here, the standard is here, it's here to stay. Then, now we are talking about the core of the document, and is trying to explain why OpenBIM helps the regulatory process. Okay, here we have most of the discussion was about these topics, especially to keep it simple, because it isn't. But we put a focus on technological neutrality. And so we scared the regulators with stories about vendor lock-in, and try to scare them. And this is also, we talk about a little bit during talking about neutrality, about competitiveness that is supported by neutrality. So in the market, of the capability of small and medium business to compete in tenders or in approval processes. Data continuity and long-term sustainability of data and systems. So we start to talk about MOLD, that is model as a legal document, and IFSC as a digital archiving or managing format. So we're talking about a BIM mandate actually, or using OpenBIM. We talk about collaboration with the industry. We have some data from EU-BIM about the improvement you can have in this management. We will add the data that is coming from NRCC, because we have not been able to add that during the edition. NRCC is the study that was presented a couple of days yesterday by buildingSMART Canada at the keynotes. Of course, we talk a lot about regulatory internal harmonization, and we are very happy that we had two keynotes yesterday, talking about Singapore, and they focused a lot in the capability of using OpenBIM is not only breaks the silos between industry and data silos between the industry and in institution, but also inside the institution, especially with different offices. So we start also automatize the permitting process. This is strange to say. Why should you use your OpenBeam if you're not going to automatize the process? Actually, it's not so clear. We had a discussion yesterday with Anna, but it's just gone, where a municipality in Italy was saying that it's very interesting to have OpenBeam, but when she said you can also use this data for automatic check and say, can we? That is not so clear. Even for people in the that is using this is already approaching the OpenBeam. Okay, not of course we talk a little bit about managing and maintaining open public assets, but this is possible if you use the OpenBeam since the approval, the project approval. And of course, we talk also something about citizen engagement in urban evolution, and we reported something that is being done in Vienna that is very interesting from my point of view in terms of democracy, the democracy of the use of OpenBeam in a city environment, national environment. This chapter was about the current state of use of OpenBeam in regulatory. So we tried to collect as much as we can what is happening around the world. Of course, this means that we are hurrying up because in the start of the project lasted 1 year and 1.5 years. And it has been really, this chapter has been changing many times because something new was coming from different countries. And we are very happy about this. This is significant for the momentum of OpenBeam in regulatory, but it has been something that has to be, but I'm so pleased in case you want to review and you have new news to add this, please add that. To keep it readable, we didn't talk too much about city and region because otherwise this chapter should have been, I don't know, 50 pages just talking about, Geneva and the other cities in the world, Yarvenpa, all the cities in the world, San Salvador in Brazil. There are so many cities that are already been doing something with the BEAM mandate that is really unbelievable if you start to count them, how many there are. We thought, as I said, we didn't go too much in legal discussions, but we put something according to ISO 1965, 19650, sorry. Yeah, 0 doesn't count. Okay, sorry. No, sorry for the mistake. Yes, we talked a little bit about data protection and privacy issues, and we reported something that is coming from Estonia. They've been they're very open in talking about this story. So we used their case history for supporting the 19650 approach. Of course, as we said, we start talking about why we focus only on buildings and not on infrastructure too, because the process is ongoing, but at the moment we stop here. Okay, we talk also about something about digital permitting today, some perceptions, and we try to pick some cherries about what is people say somewhere in the world, and we also reported what we discovered in the survey in 2021. Data and standards. Oh, finally, this was a problem because we have to say something, and we want to keep it short and simple. And when you start talking to someone that everything is short and simple, and you show them that you have, I don't know, 8 elements in the standard OpenBeam that has to be considered for a model design, for a model production, probably these people say, yeah, you're joking me, you're not telling that the truth is not so simple. So we asked Mirbeck, so fortunately Mirbeck created this approach that is the pizza model, the pizza analogy. So we took all our fantastic and well-known acronyms and we put them in the process of baking a pizza. And so IFC is the pizza, actually the one you eat in your it arrives, that is delivered to you. MVD is a slice of the pizza, it's delivered. And okay, IDM is the recipe and so on. So this has been a good discussion, open that we did with Mirbeck and Nick. We hope that is understandable, of course, because okay, this is something that, it looks like that you are doing something, let's say, it's not short and simply short and stupid. That's the question, if you're doing something like that. But on the other side, I tried to use we try to use the process that has been presented by Clive during the presenting OpenBeam yesterday, and it looks actually a little bit too complicated for a real newcomer. But anyway, we put also a process. Just as an example, right on the top, if you think it's too complex, don't worry, because you can jump on it. We also talk a little bit about the information that are exchanged with the OpenBeam model with regulators. That is the focus of the RIR project. We will talk later on. We gave just a general consideration, that is, if in a model you have all the data that are needed to project, build, cost, modify, and so on, a building, probably there are most of the data that you need for approval. Some data, if needed, will be added. More technical stuff about automatic checking. We talk about the transformation of the law of regulations in machinery operable instruction. We didn't go in the deep, of course, but we talk that is something that we have to consider. And also we talk a lot about the data archiving and the capability of FC to be used, using a couple of examples, but the most important is the one from the Finnish government. About the project, we didn't go in the deep, but of course we say something lesson learned from the pioneers. So we talk about the sponsorship and consensus. That is something I think is very, very interesting for people in the institutions to start about the project and the need of consensus and trust in the process and in the tool, of course. About project scoping, one thing we discovered is most of the projects for a permitting are not projects for a permitting. Most of the projects for e-permitting are including a project for e-permitting because they are focusing on sustainability, on the review of the internal process, digitalization of the public services, and so on. And so also the need of a clear scoping for the project inside the complexity of a wider project. Change management, some very basic highlights that we took, of course, from the experience of different projects. and a part related to training and support. Conclusion, we put at the end a conclusion that is a kind of, let's say, like executive report, but after you read the book. So the main messages are digitalizing building regulation process is unstoppable. That's it. OpenBIM is precisely designed for this purpose, for digital permitting. It was not this, it fits precisely to the process, but this was not designed for. OpenBIM is the most, if not the only, strategic system currently available for this process. So don't go and search somewhere else, ask Elon Musk or so on. And the capability of OpenBIM to be strictly related to ISO ensure a basis, it's not the end, but it's the basis for legal compliance. Especially for, and you have to think about making probably the first step in more or less most of the projects we've seen is that they made IFC National Digital Format for Document Archiving and Exchange. That's a basic part that is in every single project we've seen. Okay, the tool is fostering dialogue not only with along all the process, both with the industry and inside the regulatory bodies, and can automate. It can also automate it. Fostering means also that can automate it. Okay, learn from the experience of the endeavors, from the trailblazers. This offers valuable insights and suggestions, so don't try to do everything by yourself. If I'm talking, of course, of someone is not is approaching this process for the first time or something like. The kind is made for this. Let's say thank you to my editor and the people that they took part to the process. So as you see, Miguel Asigna, Eduardo Toledo Santos, Sergio Munoz, Luis Vargas, Nick, of course, Sheila, and Mirbeck, and also Francesca Noardo that is here. Sorry, Mirbeck, I've not had the time to put your picture as a fireman. Okay, now let's go to the end, because the sun is very rude outside. And let's say, what are we worried about? We are worried about, especially about is the guide in line with the target? So we want to reach someone. Not sure that everything is so perfect, it's so precise, but it's something that can be discussed and so on. But discussion could be a way to engage. And so this way, what we want is that people read it. So the question is, are we too technical or too for novices? Is it something that is, because sometimes you have the level of complexity is maybe is not so equal everywhere in the document. So this is a question. I would like to understand this. And this another problem is different from the topics. Is the language we use? Is the language proper language for regulators? Because if you are in Italy, by example, you don't say some words that are typical. That is, probably the regulators say, no, this is a technical stuff, and they throw it away, or something. Oh, you don't read it till the end. That is already a problem, because 45 pages is a thing you have to want to read until the end. Do legal issues get too little coverage? So are we too far from the legal problems? And so people that are in the institution is scared about things that we are talking about because they are not so close to their day-by-day problem that are probably related to legal issues and discussion. Once this is for us the main problem. Let's say we are worried about this. So please help us read this. Make it read to your wife or your husband. So spread it, and as you can understand that we are doing right in the right way. How can we spread the guidance? That's once we understand that the guidance is acceptable, is on target. There is a question. We quite surely we will translate it, but actually translate it doesn't make it fit for different countries, because different countries has different languages, different legal institutional approach, different way of making this, of understanding some kind of data processes or processes at all. So our idea is that we would like that this is a seed that could be sent to the chapters, and they create or make grow a different tree with which is completely different from the guide. So please use it, and as it will be accepted, please use it. But we are absolutely okay if you mix it with the problem of your country, the problem of your jurisdiction, and so on. So it's just a way to say something that we think it's a direction, not a Bible. How to promote it on social media? This is something we are discussing. Will we do it or not? Are regulators reading social media? Are they using technical social media? Which one? And so on. Okay, but the main channel, as we said, is probably through the Open BIM champions. So the people that is working close or in the institution and is aware of what BIM is, and to make them it use as a word of mouth, and to pass the document or the contents of a document inside their organization. Of course, this is something that we will learn probably day by day in the future after the publication, because what comes next after the guidance will be approved by the standards committee. The national version, we will produce some national version. We are discussing if there is some success, we will do some kind of pills. You can read at the coffee machine instead of having the coach and the glass of wine. We will create a kind of events. As you probably know, the regulatory room already has started to create events that are, which aim is to reach people out of the club, let's say. These events are called open house events. They are online, but in case we will be very happy to make them in person, of course. And in case we have, I don't know, a jurisdiction or national institution that is interested in. Updates. This guide is already, the day it will be published, it will be, it needs some updates because things are coming day after day. And so we have to think how to manage this case. We already have a project in buildingSMART, in the regulatory room to radar. Everything is happening in the, everything is too much. What we can understand, what is reachable, and what is going on in the different jurisdictions in different countries. But of course, this can change completely also some contents in the guidance. So we probably will need some updates of the guidance. Discussion, up to you. Let me know what you think about. I'm very happy for any request. Of course, remember regulatory at buildingSMART.org. You can ask for the guidance. We will send you a PDF with some disclaimers saying, yeah, it is just for your use and for reading it. Please.
Hello, thank you. Hello, I'm Maria Benitez from Spain chapter. I have taken notes, and I have like 5 issues, no topics, sorry. But I will start one by one. Maybe other people have similar questions, so let everybody participate. Of course, buildingSMART is international, as its own name already says, but the number of countries in the European Union that make part of buildingSMART is big, and European Union has a common regulation, a common framework of regulation. Has this regulation been partially taken in consideration for the
European Union is one of the 25 countries we are talking about. So we talk also the regulation from EU. Yes, okay. Of course. But it is very nice that thank you for your question, because it's very interesting. Because we were talking also for the people from Portugal. They are working on the process check project that, is working in different countries. That is only if you have a quite common regulation is possible, because we have people from Czech Republic and from Italy, from Portugal, and it's complete. No, the problem. No, I'm not joking. The problem is that you have a regulation, but the grade of attendance is very different from country to country. So.
No, sure. And the transposition of the European regulation to local regulations is different in every country, but there is a common spirit.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
At the end of the day, for example, in my experience with Latin America, for example, most of public regulation in Latin America is based on Spain's regulation, and at the same time, of course, in Europe's, because Spain's come from Europe.
They told me Europe, not Spain. Sorry,
I'm
joking, because we're I'm joking because I have a fight.
Spain's regulation is.
I'm joking because I have Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking people from South America. Yes,
No, but it happens in Latin America that a lot of regulations are based on Spanish.
Yes, absolutely.
Ones.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and Spanish comes out of European. So that was the origin of the question was there in the fact that if you already pretend to go public, let's say, in some way, European is a big amount of the go public.
Yeah, it is, but also China is a big amount.
Of course, China is also bigger in size.
Because of course. Looking from a very that has been also a problem for me, because I'm in the EU, of course. I come from a country in the EU, but we have to be able to work in a global. From a global perspective, but anyway, we can't forget. Of course, we cannot forget what the EU is saying.
I'm going to link with this and ask another thing. So I have understood, and I understand that we can't translate in the chapters this document. We have to rewrite it, of course, to adapt it to each country. But does buildingSMART aim to, let's say, give a waiver, like approve each country's rewriting?
No, I don't think so. I think I don't know if we have a standard.
Yes, no?
No, I don't know, Nick, but I know the Canadian buildingSMART submitted their guidance to buildingSMART.
I mean, shouldn't it in some way, because if we pretend as an international association that the guidance is recognized by all the governments, of course, every of countries with buildingSMART chapter, every government has to accept the adaptation of the local guidance, not the general one in some way. So maybe this should be considered. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just putting it on the table. But maybe because
honestly, I'm not, Nick, up to you, because I'm not in the chapter management mechanism so deep.
The buildingSMART International is a confederation of the chapters, and the chapters are free to develop their chapters and make the publications they want to make. And they don't have to get approval from buildingSMART International. So a local version can be rebadged as a chapter production. Obviously, we hope that our work will be acknowledged because that's cooperation and collaboration. And they will take responsibility for the content and so on. So I think, the role of buildingSMART International is to say something that is international. The individual chapters or groups of chapters may get together to say, we want to write an annex or a forward, or maybe do a substantial body of change. But I think the key messages in what Franco and his team have produced is that this is an international opportunity, and that open standards mean that any individual jurisdiction can do this in a more efficient, accurate way than if they go their own path. And it's significant that the first people to do compliance checking using Open Singapore, I think second was probably Dubai, followed closely by Estonia. Finland will be next year. So some European countries, some not European. And I think as we learn more about those and more come through, we will see differences. I know that in the UK, a building permit doesn't mean anything except that once you've done the checking, the local authority is obliged to inspect the actual work. That's the only thing that it means. In other countries, a building permit is the end of government involvement, and you can build, and it's the insurance and professional liabilities that take control. So there are lots of differences around the world, but at the heart of it is a regulatory compliance process that says, here is a proposal, and before you try and build this, we must check the virtual version. And so that's what's universal. We'll talk in the next session about common information requirements, and there have been studies saying that fire regulation around the world covers 12 things. Now, the details are all different, but many of the properties that they regulate and many of the activities they regulate are the same. So that, we have to steer a line between buildingSMART International offering and creating a platform which can then be tailored locally with the chapters. Whilst I've got the microphone, I'm going to do something.
She had 5 more.
Well, just 1 moment. I think when we launched this project, I rather foolishly said that regulators don't come to buildingSMART meetings. And immediately about 6 hands shot up. So can I just ask, are there any people whose main role is as a regulator here today? Phew. Because the main point of this is to reach out to people who don't come to meetings. So I think we're on the right track with the idea of a publication. Now you can go on a little bit. Sorry.
Well, my role is not a regulator, but I do work directly for regulators. So close. Yeah. In fact, I'm in the technical committee for the Spanish mandate. So I'm not far from regulators. Still, I'm not a regulator. Okay, I put several questions together. So now I just have one, and I let other people speak. I don't want to be the this mold that was interesting concept for me, new. Probably it's not new, but for me new. The model as a legal document.
Yeah.
What is the relationship with EFC? What it is supposed to be exactly? It's like,
of course, as it's an acronym coming from the US that are not using open BIM so much, but in some it's not true. They are using it, that not in a European way, let's say. But the idea is it's very nice in my opinion, is that the mold is to understand that it's not only IFC. When you
but it's an IFC that at a certain point turns into a
open BIM
mold, let's say.
Yeah, yes,
but
because when you talk about open BIM, you're not talking about IFC only. By chance, we are talking about the new regulation in Italy, and IDS is should be heavily involved in the tender procedure. But it's not only IFC at that moment. IFC is the recipient where everything at the end goes. It's the pizza, as we said. But probably we have to introduce also different concepts that have to be included. We find this, okay, let's say this acronym. We are here. If you don't like it, we'll take it off.
I just was curious about if it was something else, if it was something that you add to an IFC, that you extract from an IFC, or it was the IFC itself. That was.
It includes IFC for sure, but we are a little bit scared of that in a definition. You say here too. You see there is IFC mandate or BIM mandate or model mandate.
Okay.
That's the question. If you have a better acronym, a better word to say this, that is an approach with everything we have in the open BIM for a regulatory model process, a regulatory process, sorry. Here we are.
I'll say a bit more about the legal document thing. In South Korea, they've done a lot of work on automatic regulatory compliance. But the situation in Korea is that the law says that the authority must sign and stamp and seal the drawings that are approved. And faced with this problem, you might think that you could never use open BIM for a regulatory process. But they came up with a very nice solution, which is that they have mechanisms now where they can do the automatic checking of IFC models. And then when they have been checked and approved, they have standard software that the regulator uses to generate the drawings from the IFC, which are then stamped and sealed and waxed and so on. So that's one way of overcoming an issue about the many legal and regulatory systems are very drawing focused. The approach in the USA is they're saying that they would like to attach IFC files to the contract. It's not directly looking at regulatory matters, but it's saying that that can be the first, the primary document in the contracts for bridge and road construction. And I think that's quite exciting. Because it then puts what contract people want to avoid, what legislators want to avoid, is having two versions of anything, whether it's a regulation or a document or a contract or whatever. And so a model as a legal document is the start of saying, actually, this will be the reference point in the case of any argument, dispute, or whatever. And it's quite an old idea, and the first time it was used was in Spain at the Bilbao Museum. And Frank Gehry had made a lot of mistakes with projects in America. And so when they came to the construction of the Guggenheim, he said they attached the IFC model to the contract and said everyone has to coordinate with that. So the model as a legal document is not a new idea, but clearly it depends on the legal framework of any individual country as to whether you can do that.
I'm Tomi Henttinen from Finland, and Finland has been mentioned here as well. We have the new legislation which will make BIM mandatory or IFC mandatory is going to be activated January next year. In the legislation, it does not say anywhere that it's going to be IFC. So the IFC is not mentioned anywhere. Although now they have published, the Ministry of the Environment, who is responsible for building regulations, they have now published a memo, which is kind of, in Finland we have always like the law, and then you have the memo which explains what is said in the law. So that's how it goes. So the Building Act is a legal text, and then there's a memo which explains that what it actually says. But so in the memo which was published January this year, it's mentioned that IFC 4.0 is currently the version that should be used. And why is that? Even though it's nowhere mentioned that it's IFC, still it is IFC, and I explained this I have explained probably a couple of the summits before, but maybe there are people who haven't been here before. So in Finland, how it works, all public authorities and basically all public actors, the clients, they have to archive. We have an archiving legislation which says that, or no, it's not archiving legislation, it's information information management in public sector. And the legislation says that everything that the public authority, all information must be informed that it can be archived. And that's the first thing. And then we have an archiving legislation which says that the National Archives is the authority who decides which formats are archiving format, official archiving formats. And then in the Building Act, which is a third piece of legislation, it says that the information in building permits must be delivered in three-dimensional machine-readable form. Now, it doesn't say it's IFC, but because the National Archives has accepted that the three-dimensional machine-readable format for building designs is IFC 4.0.2.1, then basically the authority cannot accept any other format. And so that's how it works. So it's three pieces. And this is, I asked that, was this on purpose? No, it was not on purpose. It's an accident, but it's a really good accident because it's really flexible, because now we will have IFC 4.3 already accepted as an ISO standard, which can then, once it's published as an ISO standard, then the national, actually, once it's published as an EN standard, because the European standards are more important, of course, for us, then once it's published as an EN standard, then the National Archives can accept that one as a to official archiving format. So you don't need to change any legislation. You don't actually need to change anything. The National Archives just makes the decision that this is an official archiving format, and then we can start using IFC 4.3. So this is how it works in Finland, and I think that's a really good kind of a combination, even though it was total accident that it's specified in this way.
Okay, here in Spain it's similar. We have what we have is a regulation that says that public actors can only receive open documents, like open source documents. So IFC is the one. There's no other one in 3D model. So there are several ways of getting to the same place. The only question I have for this IFC model as a blah blah is, for me as an architect, there is a little bit of danger there, because an IFC is something you can touch. I mean, before BIM, that ages ago, I never gave a DWG as a legal document. It was always a PDF, because that is not movable, let's say. And with EFC, you can really manipulate it. So how is that solved? How could that possibly be solved?
Well, yeah. I was brought up on paper drawings, and one of the things we learned in the office was how to cut other people's title blocks off drawings and put our own on it.
You know it's being recorded, right?
Yeah. Legal liability only lasts 15 years. And of course, even PDFs can be edited.
Of course.
And so on. So I think we've been through a difficult patch, started about 1993 or 5, when people invented electronic drawings. BIM came before that, but 1995 probably was the start of electronic drawings and electronic communications. And now it's taken us a while to work out how to do it, but we now know that traceability can be achieved by other means than just saying it must be a locked format or an encrypted format, and so on. So I think, yeah, the marking of data, it took the UK probably 10 years to work out the solution to this problem that Bill Gates gave us in 1995. And it's taken another 10 years to turn that into ISO 19650, which is the answer to those questions, that rather than tracing bits of paper or PDF files, we now say that we must have a system that tracks the narrative history accurately. And so I think we've got beyond that. With the case of an IFC file, it will always be transmitted electronically. No one will hand write an IFC file or write it down on a piece of paper and send it. And so we have to move into the era where it's the electronic trail that tells you what has happened. Yeah. So yes, it's. I think the challenge, and I've been teaching architects that BIM is a good idea for 45 years now. And to start with, the question was, would an architect ever touch a computer? So there is progress. And I think the reality is that, yes, if you're making a regulatory submission, you'd better make sure that what you submit, you're prepared to justify and stand up for. And so it is a quality issue, to say you don't want to include stuff that isn't truthful and accurate, because a BIM, like a drawing, a BIM model is a claim. You make a claim, the regulatory authority checks it, and they may challenge it. And they may challenge it saying this dimension line is wrong, or they may challenge it by saying this doorway isn't legal, or they might say the U value you've claimed on this window is fanciful, or whatever. So it's a claim and counterclaim. And I think, you know, when looking about these systems, we must be realistic that the BIM model is the first level of claim, and then there may be all sorts of conversations after there for evidence. Yeah. So.
If I may, I guess just a couple of thoughts. First of all, the MLD, the mold idea was very good in the guidance, because when we said that we have so many pieces of standards, because creating the model is more or less like creating a building a construction, so you need more pieces. And the other thing I say is that I come from different regulations, but we're going to use digital data. I come from aerospace and pharmaceutical. Both of them have not been able to block everything in a single data format, because at the end, you are talking about a pharmaceutical specialty that has been prepared somewhere and so on, but the temperature of the air where it was produced is not in the same file of the machine that is doing the pill. So you have to manage both to grant the quality, to grant the legal assurance that you are saying what we are doing. This is one thing that is, as at the beginning we were trying in the pharmaceutical to stuff everything in a single file with everything together, so you have yes, but it was very hard to trace, also because a single pill and temperature is measured every 10 minutes, and the single pill is 1 millisecond. So what is the right time? So you have to manage all these formats, and you have to seal them very, very accurately. And especially the most important thing that has been coming from, especially the same for aerospace, for a piece of an airplane, the most important thing that came from that experience has been traceability, traceability, traceability.
One challenge with BIM and IFC is how do we see the data, and this is something I've been working as a consultant, so I'm also an architect, and been working as a consultant for the ministry and several specification projects in Finland. My kind of biggest challenge is that how can I make the requirements and the specification so that the data that we exchange is the same, or it can be understood the same way. Both the provider of the information and the receiver of the information understands the information the same way. Because if you look at the traditional process where we have PDFs or even or like a blueprint, line is a line, dash dot line is a dash dot line. Everybody understands that the same way. But when we talk about building information models like IFC models, and if you are not precise enough with your specifications and requirements, the data can be really vague, and also because we have, at least in Finland, and I think it's the same in other countries as well, we have kind of built already a tradition how the IFC or how the modeling is done in projects, and it's really project based. Even in 1950, you say that you create a BIM execution plan for the project. In regulatory processes, that's not possible. the information cannot be project-based. Nobody has time. In Finland, we have about 11,000 building permits annually. Every year, 11,000 building permits comes to different, we have 250 authorities, building permit authorities. If we say that maybe half of that number will be in the future, will be IFC models, there is just no resources that somebody goes through and checks that, okay, what is the coding for doors this time, and how are the fire codes written, where are they, and how they are in doors and windows. It has to be totally harmonized. And the level of geometry needs to be totally harmonized. And that's kind of a big challenge. And I think it's also a kind of a, because it's changing the way we have, at least in Finland, I could say that we have built bad manners for creating BIM models. There is lots of kind of people are clever when they when it comes to finding out shortcuts and all kinds of.
I will take you to any Mediterranean and see if you keep saying that.
Yeah. So you can do amazing stuff with the slab object. Yeah, but that is kind of a challenge that to write the specifications or bring the specifications into a level that still somebody understands, because there's a risk that it becomes really, really technical, and then the architect looks the specification and says that no, I don't speak this language. So there's a big challenge, and you need different kinds of guidance. Like this is this type of guidance, which is more like a high-level guidance, but then you need more technical guidance, and then maybe you need a guidance that explains the technical guidance, and then you hope that somebody even reads all those guidance documents. But
provide them some wine. So
yeah. But it's the machine readability and understanding that you understand the data the same way on both sides of the desk, both sides of when you are delivering the data, because that is kind of the essential. Otherwise, you just end up having these arguments that no, that was what we meant. Yes, that's what we see, type of things, and that's a challenge. I don't have a absolute ultimate answer to how it can be solved, but I've been trying. So for example, using the use case approach, specifying, reading through the legislation, picking up that, okay, now there's an accessibility legislation for accessibility. What they are actually saying in the legislation, what needs to be checked. How can I turn that to IFC language and sort of and it needs IDM, MVD, and maybe IDS as well. Different tools that we can kind of express the requirements in exact way so that it can be understood by both parties.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Nick?
Oh, no, sorry.
Final words? No?
No, but Nick, would you say something? Please.
Okay, I'd like to say a few things. Some more things. Stop me if you can. First of all, thank you for the people who've already volunteered to form our review panel. So far, we've had 4 replies. So we'll get that underway as soon as the summit is over. Secondly, I think what you've heard today here, we will be discussing the detail after the break when we come to regulatory information requirements. And if you want to see this working, please do come to the building room session tomorrow, 11 o'clock. And if you're quick, you will see a complete regulatory process executed in 30 seconds. So the tools are in place now that we can start to build something that is really exciting and really accurate as well. The other thing I want to say is please appreciate what Franco has done today and in the 18 months that we've he and his team have been working on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.